Well, how do you deal with, I had this the other day, on Wednesday nights I teach a class, and one of the things we talk about is that, some of the injustices economically, environmentally in the world, and one of the students says, man, this class is really making me depressed. You know, and you know, how would you deal with that? Is that a necessary step that you have to go through as you find out, as your eyes are more awakened to issues of the world? Sometimes that can be overwhelming and make you depressed. And you I don't want someone to stay in that depressed state. How do you?
I think sometimes you have to step back a little bit and look at the big picture and where we've come. We're not where we should be, but if you look 100 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, what was allowed, what was accepted then? It was okay to beat your wife, you could beat your kids. You know, all these things. You could have slavery was still okay. And wars. Remember Vietnam? Thousands of people killed every week, and that horror was brought to us on our television, and we were horrified, and we spoke out. Now, if 5 servicemen or women are killed in Afghanistan, we are outraged. See how far we've come? And we should be. But that's part of the growth. And so, not to say we can just rest our heels, but if we look back and say, okay, we're making progress.
What else is hopeful to me is to see other people that are really working with this, or to see groups, you know, like Esther. Or for me right now, it's hopeful to see the people who are willing to step up and say, I want to be president and this is my reason. And they're hopeful. They're willing to get out there and do something.
Because if we don't look at both ends of it, it will be depressing. Because then we don't see anything coming of it. But sometimes we need those little reminders.
And I think another reminder is reality. If you can't deny reality. If this is the way it is, then what are we going to do about it?
In response to your question, Bill, it's almost like there's 2 parts. You can't become depressed if you're not aware.
That's right. Yeah.
You can't become depressed if you're not aware. And once you become aware, you will perhaps experience depression. But that doesn't mean, what's the use? It's the starting point for moving in a direction that may not be successful right away. I think of Václav Havel's definition of hope. It's not the same as optimism. It's not the conviction that something will turn out well. It's the certitude that it's the right thing to do, regardless of how it comes, how it turns out. And I kind of think any social justice group, Esther, moves in that kind of a direction, with that kind of a feeling. Are we going to be successful? We don't know, but it's the right thing to do. Look at how far we've come with prison reform. Remember when we started some years ago? There's nothing, no money given whatsoever for rehabilitation to replace incarceration. Now we're up quite a few bucks from the state are being put into rehabilitation. It's a small sign, but you got to start somewhere. And I suspect someone who's not really aware will feel that depression. I'm just going to go and have my beer and get my popcorn and go on life. But
well, I realize what we've seen in other countries, those who are dictators, for example, they don't want people to be educated. They don't want people to be aware. That's how you can control the masses, through their ignorance, not knowing their rights. And I have a cartoon I think of this sled going down the hill, and at the bottom is a cliff, and it's we're moving towards this environmental degradation, for one thing. I mean, our environment is degrading at a rapid rate. Well, a lot of people don't want to see that, and doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We're going to go off the cliff at some point. You either are aware and try to steer your sled away, or you just keep your blindfolds on and just blindly go down. But it's inevitable things that will happen if you don't open your eyes and try to change your course. It may, and it may require some. I always hope that the depression will somehow lead towards action. I mean, I remember this one really blew me away. I had an office mate, and he was a big hunter, and I'm not a hunter at all. But so I always kind of going and killing animals and stuff like that. But the way he would describe it, he was a Menominee. The way he would describe hunting was it just blew me away.
A liturgy almost.
Almost a liturgy. The value of that animal's life in kneeling down in a prayer before you, and thanking that animal for giving of its life to you for your table. That changed my whole perspective.
The sacredness.
The sacredness of it.
The sacredness of
Yeah.
it. Yes.
And
The
just,
sacredness.
and just one small experience when I was on the reservation, deer hunting time, and I went up north hunting with my family. Although I was able to hunt on the res, they invited me to hunt there. I didn't. But I came back that Sunday and Monday morning in the grade school. We started the grade school. I was complaining to some of the 8th grade boys, man, I missed my buck yesterday or this past couple weekend. This one young Native American said to me, why do you say your buck? That wasn't your buck.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The same kind of concept.
Yeah.
It's not mine.
An aha moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. And then
Allow me-
I had an experience, because I was on the reservation one year.
That's right.
And when they had their native dances, and of course they have the real eagle feathers.
Yeah.
But if anybody dropped an eagle feather, everything stopped. And the person had to go pick it up and go ask for forgiveness. And that was just embedded in them from little on. It was.
Allow me to add another anecdote. Mike Dory, was he after you
Mike Dory?
up there in Menominee?
Before me.
He was before you. Okay, so I was pastor in Amro, and Palm Sunday was approaching, and Mike Dory was my friend. I know he was up there. And I says, hey, give me, instead of just using the little palm branches, I want to get some cedar branches and for Palm Sunday. So can you, and he says, yeah, we can get some down to you. So Saturday before Palm Sunday, these 2 strapping Menominees come, young guys come with their pickup truck, and they had the cedar branches. And I said, oh, good, we can bless them now tomorrow at the Palm Sunday. And they said, Father, they're already blessed. You don't have to.
Dear St. Francis would be quite at home with them, wouldn't he?
Yes.
And they were
He
very
really would.
serious. They were joking. I said, Father, they're already blessed.
Yeah.
So when I say my, Father, can you lead us for meal prayer? I say, the food is already blessed. Let's give thanks. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's one of the power, or the beauties, I think, of Esther is welcoming and appreciating those different faith traditions.
Yes.
The other day I stopped, I was sending something off on Western Union, and it was at a gas station, and there was a young man, and he was talking to him about Western Union. He said, well, yeah, I send stuff off to my family in India. So he was from India. So we started talking, and I found out where he's from. He's from Mumbai in India, and it was a really nice conversation. And then I said, well, what are you doing here? And he's going to school. He wants to be a business person. And then he says, I want you to meet my girlfriend. So he went in the back room and got his girlfriend out, and she introduced herself. She was great, and she's Pakistani. And I think, you're Indian and she's Pakistani. I mean, those are mortal enemies. And he says, yes, we are doing our whole thing for world peace in here.